This conference will now be recorded.
So, good morning. So, last session was regarding the, so we've gone through securities, like how we provide securities using Active Directories. We have seen that. And okay, I think we have also gone through how to create VPCs, virtual private networks, VPs, clouds. Okay. Now, so let's start today. So, how to set up auto scale groups and then load balancing. Now, so going back to Azure. Under compute service, so compute. Now there you have virtual machine scale sets. So this is how you set up your auto scale group conditions for the instance. Okay. So, but one second before we do that, let me check whether we have any images here so that we can add the image to the auto scale group. Right? We know the concept how it works. I want to see that do we have any images created first. So you can find it under, okay, let's see. There, images, did we create any images? There should be one. Already linked that one second. Let me check that on the resource. I'm just checking for the image.
Sir, virtual image.
Do you have it?
Yes, sir. Sir, this one, sir. New Ubuntu instance of one virtual image, sir.
This one?
Yes, sir.
But it's not an image. It's virtual machine. That's not image.
Sir, through capture resource, we create the image, sir.
So there we have it. So there is image. So we have image. Okay. Well, fine. So now going back to, so this is our image. Now going to our resources. Let's try with scale sets. Okay. So create a scaling group. Create a scaling group. So go with some description. So just go with subscription. We have only one subscription, and then go. So and your virtual scale set name. So let's say auto group 1, and then so region US East, availability zone, select the availability zone, and then orchestration mode. So, and this is what we call kind of whenever you launch instances. So those instances you want to launch a kind of identical instances. That means uniform instances. Okay, or else. So there is no option. Flexible option is not there. So that's because of so what we call it region we selected. Okay, so it's only mostly uniform. So while I launch my new instances, it will be launching your what we call uniform instances, similar instances. And then so under my gallery Ubuntu, right? So that is what I have selected. Okay, then you can go with that's a gallery. From this gallery, have that image is loaded, right? Like I've shown you that image. That image is available. Okay, and or else if you want to see all the images, you can see all the images. Anyway, these are the mostly ones we have used. Or you want to see the all the images, you can see all the images. On this list, you can select the image. So these images are like market place images, and you when you go with so my images in the sense which are this is what is our image. Okay, that's the one we already selected anyway. By the way, that's already selected. Okay, right. So now going to I'm not launching spot instances. I'm launching on-demand instances. If you want to launch spot instances, you can even request for a spot instance. Okay, but anyway, so I launch on-demand instance. Then authentication type, SSH authentication type. So I would like to provide so capital test user, that's username, and then so password. That's password. Confirm password. Okay, and then the licensing model. So is it Red Hat? I think we used Red Hat, I guess. Okay, go with Red Hat licensing model. Next. Okay, and then you have so these types. We know these types, right? We have premium, and then we have SSD. Okay, go with that standard SSD. Okay. Encryption type. It's encryption, and then so all the settings are similar, and data utilization. That's okay. Go with the next step. Network, which network you want to launch it, select your network, and then that's I think what's network we have created last time. I think that is network we have created. Now you want to create a new network, you can create that. I think we have created these networks last time with PCs. Okay, you want to go to new network, you can do it. Okay, and then next scaling. Okay. So this is exactly why we are here for actually the scaling conditions. So now instance count. So what is instance count? I want only one instance. Okay, I want one instance as a minimum. Then you want to set up some scaling policies. Now you see that minimum instances and the maximum instances. Maximum instances I go with 4. Okay, there. So you have scale in, scale out conditions. So scale in means so go with the scale out first. Okay, scale out. Now, so you see that scale out means this is a percentage of CPU out. I mean, how are you going to scale it out? Scale it out means reducing it. Scaling means like increasing the size. See that? Sorry, scaling means like decreasing. I'm sorry. Scaling means decreasing, and scale out means increasing. This is the other way. Out means like increasing. Okay, that means adding up, keep adding your instances. And then in scale in means decrease the instance sizes. Well, then on what percentage you would like to do that CPU percentage, and which is 75, and then duration in minutes. That means this is like just time to ready, amount of time auto scaling engine will back after. That means, so sometimes instances takes a lot of time, right, to scale up. How much time? So let's say 10 minutes. And number of increase. So how many increase you want to increase, like one by one. I want to go with launch 2 instances at a time. Okay. So if the condition is satisfied, CPU percentage is satisfied, it is going to launch 2 instances same time. But I want to go with one at a time. So now this is scaling. Scaling means reduce the number of instances. Okay. So if the CPU percentage is dropping back to 25 percentage, then reduce the instances one by one. Okay. But, so, and this is diagnostics, means like what we call it, monitoring kind of purpose. You want to maintain the logs, and you can maintain the logs. That's for monitoring purpose. Okay. Just select it, and then, but you need to choose different subscriptions. This is not for free trial purpose. So free trial does not work here. So because that's the reason it's not in the list. Okay. Now I'll check it. And then, so then you have scaling policy. This is your scaling policy. So whether you want to balance the load on across the availability zones. Okay. So or else when you want to do the balancing across between the new instances. So better we always go with the scaling on the new instances. For example, let's say this is, I'm launching, initially my size is 1. Now it is launched, a new instance is being launched because of the 75% CPU condition. And then the new instances are scaling down. How they'll be scaling down? On the CPU percentage. Now, what is the CPU percentage? That is for the new instances. If the new instances CPU percentage is down, and then scale down, that is what is up. So newest VM balance across the availability zones. Then delete the delete the newly created instances. Okay. Next. So here you have subscription protected. That's all. Like anyway, we have basic plans, and you want to upgrade your policies. So now, so this is what we call security centers. Some plans. Okay, that there is some plans. So these plans related to the what we call you want to upgrade your policies. Okay, so based upon the instances, say some of the instances, so you cannot launch instances for purpose of and with the help of free trial. So free trial cannot be launched. Then you can upgrade your plans. Okay, that is policy upgradations. Anyway, you see that there are limitations, of course, because we're using free trials and monitoring. So we keep monitoring. This is all for what we call pay-as-you-go kind of services. And even for those who want to go with auto OS upgradations, let me check this. Do they allow this option? Okay, they allow that option. Enable instance termination notifications. Okay, and then so termination delay in minutes. Now you want to terminate the instances when automatically. I mean, like scaling in. So scaling in will be done whenever scaling is done, and there is some time delay, termination time delay. So you can just increase the time. Okay, next. Okay. This is again health application monitoring, and you want to enable it. So this is like enabling it. Okay, and what kind of monitoring? So application health monitoring, and if you have applications running on it, and you want to monitor the application health, this is a wonderful option. So these options you cannot come across. You don't come across in AWS. When while paid auto scale code. Okay. Then support number and the path. then automatic repair policy. Okay. So just go with automatic repair policy. That means if your instance have some issues, instances might be need to be fixed by itself. Okay. So how much time it takes? You need some grace time, right? Like even you have, let's say you have your PC. If something it's terminated unexpectedly, you get a message like, so in system repair, Windows repair, the same thing. Okay. So next. Well, so these are, if you are going with beyond the 100 instances. Okay. So, but we are not going beyond 100 instances. But if you go with beyond 100 instances, so it needs some special algorithm. Okay. So this algorithm determines how many VM instances so are scaling in, scaling out, and they have followed some different kind of algorithms for that purpose. Okay. So if you enable that, then there will be some algorithms so activated. Those algorithms will take care of your scaling, scale out. Okay. So normal scaling policies won't work. In that case, we go with this special instance advanced settings. Okay. That is for only if you go with beyond 100. But we are not going beyond 100, so I can uncheck it now. So go with next and tags and skip tags, review. So create auto scale group. So it's being created. So deployment is successfully done. So now go to the resource. Now you can see the instances that. So that's our instance. Okay. So and then provisioning successfully done. That's the instance. Now, as usual, so you want to connect it. You can do all this actions if you want, but waiting for the public IP to be displayed. And then once it is done, as usual, you can launch it. Okay, fine. Now let's check this out. Is my auto scale group conditions are working successfully? I want to stop the instance. Okay. So if I stop the instance, is it going to launch a new instance for us? Let's find out. Okay, group one. So let's see how much time it might take to launch the instance. Just refresh the status. We are under the instances, right? Okay. Refresh. So this is stop, and it has to launch and new instance. Because of the condition being set up. So the condition is minimum number of instances is 1. So let's see. So let's see. Let's refresh. Okay. Meanwhile, you can check the scaling policies and conditions. Right? These are all the scaling conditions were set up. The scaling policies, and you can check this run history. Okay. So you can check the history as well. How many observed instances and count. Okay. How many are running and the time. Okay. So according to the time, how many instances are running always. Any disk for those instances. Okay. So there is one disk for the instance. Everything is under auto scale group. That's nice. That's good. You can see the volumes for the particular auto scale group. That's good. Let me see whether can we check anything from the virtual machines. I think I can't do it from here. Well, let me just, because they are available in that auto store. Okay. It's not there. Now back to the scaling policies. Just check this. Instances limit and maximum default. That's all good. Or else, let me just try that. Just a second. Refresh this. So what happens if I delete the instance, let's say. So successfully deleted virtual machines. Is my auto scale group is active, post should be active. So auto scale group, average CPU is more than 75. Okay, let's scale out and then scale in. Okay, decrease by count by 1. So let me find out, can we add any more rules meanwhile? Let's see. That's average. Okay, minimum, maximum, and you have virtual machine. I've set up for CPU only. Then you have discrete and write operations for these ones. Okay, so that the CPU value percentage, you can set some value over here. Yeah, so it's all similar again. You can set up more conditions. Okay, right. Just close it. Oops. Yeah, close it. Okay, go back to that auto scale group 1 and instances. Yeah, so this, you see that. So this is instance volume instance 3. I mean, so previously it was 0, right? Now it is 1, 2, 3. There is a number is being given. Now there is another instance is being launched. Okay. Right. So this is, that means our auto scale group is working successfully. Anyway, by the way. Well, so we know the concepts of auto scale groups, right? So you have set up the auto scale group for that instance, and now as usual you can start using your instance. And if something goes wrong with your auto scaling, then you can have instance. The auto scale group will take care of the auto scaling. So it's all similar, right? You have seen that even in AWS it's all very similar. Then so try with load balances. Okay, so try with load balances and going to all services, and then search for the load balancer. That's under networking. So you have load balancers. Then, so let's create a load balancer. Let's add a load balancer. So now first, so create subscription resource group. Well, sorry. Now the instance details. Just give some name. Let's say load balance instance 1. Okay, and the region. Okay, select the region. Is it internal or public, standard or basic? Okay, go with this. Okay, and then so I would go with public. Okay, so that this will be like HTTP kind of thing. So what's next? Going to so public IP address for the instance you want to provide a public IP address. Yes, use a public IP address and public IP address name. Okay, let's say and so load balance instance 1 public IP. Okay. Okay. Then I'm providing a public IP for the instance, and then then availability zones. Okay. Next. So Now, is it like internet or Microsoft network? I would go with internet. Okay, let's see. So next, give a tag, review. So create a load balancer. So that's your load balance instance. Okay, go to resource, and then that's a load balancer. Okay, and then so what else? Now I can check some. This is your load balance instance. Okay, that's my instance, and what we can try next is so check these load balancing rules. Okay, I want to add some load balancing rules for this. You can add load balancing rule. Okay, so let's say load balance. So rule 1. Okay. I'm setting up some rules. How you want to do the load balancing. Okay. So load balance rule 1, and then next is the front end IP address. Okay. That means this is your load balancer IP addresses. Okay. Then so what port number? Go with 80 port number. I'm assuming that this is an web application. So the backend port number in the backend. So backend also go with 80. Okay. And then the backend pool. So what can we go with? Let's say something like 80. Go with. We don't have any backend pools, so I'll go port number 80 interval. Okay, so and threshold. Let's create one. Let's say let's create it. It's not creating. Why it is not creating? Is it because of the backend pool? But the backend pools would be should be created actually, because when I create a load balancer, the backend pools should be created. Okay. There should be some default backend pools. So the default backend pool will be the target for the load balancing traffic. Okay. That should be created by default, but it's not created by default. Let's say, can we do it from manually? Like a target. So what is the target? So select target. But go with the resources and all services, I mean. So Those are backups. Backend pool. So most probably that is like instance. Just a second. Let me cancel this. So okay, we create the backend pool. Okay, let's check the backend pool. Because usually there would be some default backend pools. Because we have created autoscale, we have created target group, sorry, load balancer, there should be a default one. Okay, that's okay. We create one. Okay. So let's say, so backend pool one. And for virtual network, take that virtual network, which we have been using so far. And then, so virtual machine, so which virtual machine? You add a virtual machine, that will be our backend. So have one, I can add that here. Nothing but we are selecting instances on what basis you want to route the traffic. So in the rules, so what do you set up in the rules? You set up the rules on so and so rule, you want to route the traffic, right? So to the so and so instances. Now we need to select the instances, right? That is what we call backend pool. Okay, now add it. So you can say simply you are creating your target instance, adding target instances. Like whereas in so what we call it for the AWS. So how it happens, you get a target group, right? Here you target group, but the target group, what they call it is a backend group. That's it. So it has been simplified, simply you can say. And then now we can, so help props, these help props, let's see. So can I see the help prop? Create one. Help prop name, let's say this is for monitoring help prop one. And then port 80 intervals, excuse me, sorry. No. So this is like again health means how would you like to monitor your instances, how frequently you want to do the routing, which port you want to route it, and so all these setups. Great one. Okay, so now we can create our load balancer menu. So go with that's our load balancer. Okay, so successfully load balancer is set up now. Sorry for the resource. Now we can add some conditions. So where are those conditions? Rules, I mean conditions means rules. So where are the rules? Outbound, those are outbound rules. Inbound rules, outbound rules. Yeah, there it is, right? Load balancing rules. Okay. And then you just add insert rules. I'm inserting some rules here. Let's say rule is, let's say rule one, and then the front end IP address, that's an IP address. And then, so what port number? 80 port number, assuming that this is my web application instance. And then, so the backend port is also 80, let's say. And then, so the backend pool, the pool we already have set up, even the health prop is also been set up. Okay. So session persistence. So go with client IP. So session persistence, so which specifies what we call what type of rules it is going to handle stored to the backend pool, right? So based upon the IP address, based upon the client IPs. Okay. So you have some kind of session persistence means, so it is going to maintain some session time actually, some session time, or it is going to load the, so for example, I'm a client, okay, I'm trying to access my load balancer, then what it is going to, it is going to record your client IP. So some record must be maintained by the load balancer, so it is going to maintain the client IP. That is what is session persistence. Okay, so that means traffic from a client, see that here. So where is it? When you have a traffic from the client handled by the same virtual machine in the backend port for creation of session. So means, so it is going to load same client IP address. I want to maintain the client IP address. You don't want to maintain any client information, you can go with that. So none. Okay. So try this. Now, this is your ideal timeout. So if it is ideal for your load balancer is ideal for some time, then you can go with ideal timeout. So the resets, that's okay, leave them and just create one. Okay. So that's our rule one, so which is applied to the load balancer. Okay. So you remember, even for AWS, once the load balancer is created, I have set up the rules over there, insert some rules. Now the same rules, but there is one more advantage here. You can set up the even inbound rules and outbound rules. So this kind of options you don't come across again in AWS for load balancers, right? So here you can set up the inbound rules, outbound rules. Yeah, you want to set up some inbound rules, and you can set up the inbound rules as well. So now, just to go with service, what service it is now, what type of inbound rules it accepts, right? You know these ones, right? What is inbound, outbound, whatever. So inbound for load balance. Yeah. Okay, and the IP address, front-end IP address, that means for which load balancer I mean. Okay, so service, HTTP service, or any other type of protocols, you can just add it, and then again session timeout and the port number, well, and your target virtual machine. Anyway, we have one virtual machine. We have any kind of network configurations, yes, and then select it. Front-end protocol combination you entered must matches another role used by this load balancer. Matches another role. Okay. Okay. Go with 81 then. Set up the 81 role. So it's setting up our new load balancer inbound roles. So that's our inbound role. Okay. Now, same way you want to set the outbound rules also, you can set up the outbound rules, right? And the diagnostic settings like loss, you can see the loss. So welcome to Logatics. But this is again, so it's all like paid versions. Okay, these are all paid versions. Even sometimes like insights, all these ones comes in the paid in the monitoring. Okay, you can do monitoring, but these insights and others comes in the paid, so it's not. Okay, so there is something called lock option. Okay, so what it does, right? So there's no locks. You want to apply some lock over here, you can add a lock. So this is somewhat interesting. Lock name, let's say go with lock 1, and lock type is okay. Well, this is so good. So you read only. Yes. Now you can set up the lock. Right. Now I've set up a read only lock for the load balancer. Okay. So nothing but only read only operations can be done. Right. So apart from read only operations, nothing can be done. That's what is read only lock. It does not mean that you cannot read. Okay. It means that you set up read only lock on it, and this is going to allow only read operations. Apart from read operations, it is not going to accept any other read operations. Good. That's nice. And then there is one more type of lock, right? So read only and then delete. Well, so lock 2, and then this is delete. So what do you mean by delete? So let's assume that I don't want to delete my load balancer. Okay, so you don't want to delete the load balancer, but so you want to kind of inactivate. So you can go with delete lock. Delete lock. When you apply the delete lock, your load balancer cannot be accessed. Yeah. So this is how you is. Even we have some properties, you can check all the properties we have set up. That's a resource ID, by the way. Right. So resource group, this is properties whatever we have set up. And so that's a real log. And then so what I want to do, I want to see that so these are activity logs. Activity logs according see these activity logs are given in AWS according to the in Azure according to the resource actually. For each resource you have activity log, so that's again a best advantage. But whereas if you go with AWS, we go to CloudTrail, and when you go to CloudTrail, you look into the activity logs of all your dashboard. But here you have the activity logs for each and every resource. That's the best thing. That so what else? And you want to add my user over here, you can add a user who wants to do my. We don't have any users. We should have one users, right? Users. Don't we have any users? I think we have created some users, right? Yeah, searching for user one. Okay. We need to search for this. Okay, fine. Searching for the user. Now user is and so role assignments. And what assignment? Let's say admin. And then enter. Where is it? It's not saving. Okay, we have not created any roles. I'm sorry. So we just create a role, right? Assignment role. Create a role first. Okay. So let's make this user as an so administrator. Next, and user groups. Okay, so user access administrator, and then so users for users and groups, and then next, and select the members. So the members as well. Select the member, which user. I think we should have a user one, right? Selected. Okay, user one selected. Next, so review assign. Review assign. Why? So Oh, he's a guest user, right? Well, correct. So he's a guest user. Okay, since he's a guest user, we cannot make the user as admin administrator. Then I want to make my AD user. So I have some other users, probably that user. Mhm. See, am I IAM user? I logged in as an IAM user, right? Okay, I did not see that actually. No, 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 no. Yeah, I logged in as. Oh, that's fine. No, no, it's okay. I'm correct. So this is the one we created for. Okay, probably that might work. Okay, that might work. I don't remember the yeah, okay, but I'm just doing it. So next, sorry, next, review and assign it. So if I do the scope, please remove lock or remove the lock. It says, okay. I think it's been. Did I put any lock on here? I think we have put some locks over there, right? So where is the lock then? The locks, yes. So we have read-only lock, right? That's the reason I think so. Delete the read-only lock, because when you put read-only lock, it cannot be modified. Okay. Then so back to the IAM. So again, try that role. Let's create a role. So make that administrator the next step and select a member. Make that user selected and then so go with next step, review and assign it. Now it's being created. I did not see that we have put the lock over there, right? Okay, fine. So now you have a user created. You can just refresh that, just refresh this page. So and then which user? What user? I think for this user or this user. Okay, let's start. No. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So for this user. So for this user, I created one already. So I can add that user now. Right. So and then let's go with that user. So we added, right? Yeah. Then view access. Once let me check that under the roles. Is it applied or not? Let me check this. Sorry, assign roles. Yeah, yeah, it is assigned now. Successfully done. User administrator. So this user I have created. So now it's assigned. Yeah. So like we know these things, right? We have tried it even in the last session. So I created some roles and then also so tried with assign them to the users, and we have tried with different resources as well. Right. So this is regarding your load balancers and then auto scales. So almost like we have covered everything. So on Azure. So any questions? The only difference is the terminology somewhat is different. The options terminology is somewhat different, and Azure has some advanced options which you don't find it in so AWS, of course. That's why AWS looks simple, but here they have implemented too many options. So which is like they have increased too many options, so the console has become a bit complicated. But you need to understand each and every option. Once you understand these options, so things would be a bit easier. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Any questions?
This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So now under DevOps, you have DevOps Starter, and also you have DevOps, Azure DevOps for organizations. So Azure DevOps Starter is nothing but it's a kind of a small review. You can experience DevOps, create a DevOps pipeline. But when you go to Azure organization level, it is paid version. Click on Azure DevOps, and so you need to register with getting started with Azure DevOps, and then look at that billing management. So this is a different. So ultimately, Starter and Azure DevOps organization level, they look similar, but at organization level, they provide with some more options for us, okay, which is a paid option. But if you want to experience kind of a trial version, that is DevOps Starter. It's same. Okay. So you want to create a new project and select the steps for you create your repository. Okay. And then what kind of application you want to do the, so create a pipeline for this, select the pipeline, and is it a Java application or static application, Python application, selection type, and then so it's a Java application, Spring application, select it, and then it's an, let's say, a Linux web application, and then authorize the repository. Right. The repository, you select the username and the repository name, test repo, and again on Azure, something like that, give some name. Okay. And then let's say repository subscription type is free trial only, but that organization, so pipeline you cannot create with free trial. So web application name, give some application name, and then the zones. Some of the zones they don't support this. So what we call pipeline. So I select that US East that supports that pipeline, and next create a review. So it's ready. Then the resource, and you can run the pipeline. So click on authorize, and for connecting it up, successful. Then that's your pipeline. So that is being triggered. But so all the options, the pipeline is in progress. So there are some options, so which needs to be which needs to be implemented in this. So then that option, see, also it's building and then deploying it, right? Building and deploying, it's all good. So you don't need to. So you remember that in AWS we have created the pipeline, it's same pipeline, but when you compare with Azure organization level, this Azure so free resource, this is somewhat some limitations they have, but it looks very much same. Anyway, this is how you create your pipeline. It's simple pipeline. You select your project tag and give the access to the repository, and you build the pipeline. Now it is also doing the deployment to web app, right? Building was in progress. Now this is a Azure deployment. Deploying is in progress. It's deploying to Azure servers, right? Web servers. Now, I think I have not selected the correct application, but if you have the right application, then you can do the deployment successfully as well. Now this is our, so you see that we are on AWS, sorry, we are on GitHub. See that we are on GitHub. See that, that's right. So it is building the pipeline, so using GitHub as an so UI. This is GitHub UI, right? You see that that's a GitHub UI, right? So but when you go to Azure and that paid version, so which one that was, when you go to the paid version there, DevOps, which is organizational, it will be using its own so platforms. It has its own platforms, but you need to have so accounts created, pay as you go. We are using trial version, so that's it. It looks very much similar. Okay, so they don't have this kind of option available initially. So startup, they have recently introduced this. Right? Previously they used to have only organization one. Now they have introduced WinStart. Okay. So yeah, any more questions?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
No issues. Thank you.
Sir, tomorrow no class, enough.